Hey, what's up everyone? Thank you for watching and thank you for stopping by. It is really cold out here and my face is numb and I feel like I can't talk straight, so I'm going to do my best. So cutting right to the chase. I've been using a new muzzle device from Southwest Precision. It's known as their Mod Comp. As of filming today, I just broke 1,050 rounds with it. I burned through just about a full case of Blazer 124 and I put right around 150 rounds, 115 grain through it just to kind of test it out. I absolutely love this device. I actually think it's an ingenious design and I actually haven't seen anything like this on the market offered, so I'm super glad I can show you around this device. I love it. My dog loves it. The Shake Weight girls, they even love it. So let's just kind of zoom in and I will show you guys around. So here we are at first glance. Superficially, it looks like your pretty standard run-of-the-mill muzzle device. It's a 2-chamber, and we do have some smaller side ports on the side, which definitely help quite a bit with redirecting the gas at the end of the muzzle. Now, suppose you don't want to use a 2-chamber device and you'd like to scale it down to a single-chamber device. All we're going to do is, obviously with an unloaded gun, we're just going to give it a quick twist, and we're just going to slide it off the 2 locking lugs. We'll set that one off to the side. Grab a different device. Now here we are. We have a single chamber with a more of a wedge shaped gas port right here. I actually really like this one a lot. All we're going to do is slide this one on over the locking lugs, give it a quick push, and we're going to twist it into place and you'll hear it lock. That's locked into place. That's ready to go. If you wanted to dial it down from there, we absolutely could do so. We'll slide this one off, put that one off to the side. Here we have a smaller single chamber device, obviously probably with the smallest footprint of the muzzle devices that I have. Same principle here, slide it right on over the lugs, give it a quick twist, you'll hear it lock in, and now we are locked into place with this particular device. Now if you didn't want to run a muzzle device at all, you can certainly do that as well. Same thing, we're going to give this a twist, pull it off. Now here is a cap for the 2 lugs. Think about this cap for these 2 lugs just like you would a thread protector on the end of a threaded barrel. So if you didn't want to run a compensator, we can just slide this guy right on over the lugs, give it a quick twist, and lock it into place. So I just changed out 4 different muzzle devices on the end of this pistol in just about a minute. What's even cooler about this is down the road, Brent from Southwest Precision is going to be coming out with attachments for this so you can easily swap over a silencer. So we can go from not having a muzzle device to having a muzzle device to throwing a silencer on the end of your gun in just a minute or two. That thing is pretty freaking awesome. Now in no certain order, I'm just going to kind of cover some of the questions that I had about this device and some of the things that I've kind of learned about it. One, what we have here is the collar that actually goes onto your barrel. This is a steel collar, and what we have here are 2 locking lugs. One question I had was about this O-ring. I actually looked it up myself and sent the guys at Southwest Precision an email, and this is a high temp O-ring, so you will not run the risk of melting this guy. It's been good to go, and I've heated up this barrel pretty good with the 1,000 rounds, a little over 1,000 rounds I put through it. So you see your 2 locking lugs right there, and then right in the middle right here, let me see if I can get the camera to zoom in on that. You'll see that little detent right here. The way this is working is we're taking this corresponding, it's more of kind of like a ball bearing-esque locking pin, and as soon as we're sliding this on over the lugs, that's actually what's going inside this little hole right here to give it a good lock. Now, one question I had right off the bat was, how secure is this? This is just my opinion. I mean, you can take it for what it's worth. I don't buy into range guns. Like in my world, they just simply don't exist. I either have a gun that I would carry and I would trust, or I simply don't want to own it. That's just me. So how secure is this if I actually wanted to carry this? Since having this, if you notice, there's definitely on this one, you'll see there's quite a few dings and bumps and scrapes on here and all over on the sides of the collar. And that's from me dropping this thing. So I gave this conservatively about 20 shoulder high drop tests, and I did this on everything from just hard packed earth frozen. I dropped it on steel weights in my little gym that I have out here. The only place I did not drop this was on hard gravel, and that's because gravel will definitely break a light, and I just got this guy warranted because I killed my stream light, so I don't want to break the light. So it's been dropped on pretty much everything you can think of: concrete, hard earth steel weights. I just did not drop it on gravel, and not one time has one of these twisted off. So it's, with respect to security, how well is this device actually on here? I'm going to say it's actually on there. One thing I would say is, right now you're seeing a picture of a muzzle device that is popping through the bottom of a holster. If I am going to carry this, I would absolutely make sure that this gun is seated in a holster where the muzzle device is actually covered up by the end of the holster itself, or maybe just has like a little 3/4 or half pop through. While this thing hasn't fallen off on me at all, it hasn't given me any signs or indications that it has fallen off. I do think it would be smarter to err on the side of caution and make sure our holster is actually fully enveloping the end of the device. If you did not have a holster that fully enveloped this, worst case scenario is if something did start off as an ass whooping and somehow, some way, this thing got kicked in your holster and the device was not covered. As soon as you drew the gun, this would basically just fall off down your pants. So you'd still have access to your gun. It'd still be okay, but I would still err on the side of caution and make sure we had a holster that fully envelops the end of the device. But other than that, it's been 100% secure for me so far. Next thing I did with this, since day one that I had it, it's starting to wear off a little bit right now because I only put one application on it, but I had taken a little Q-tip and very, very lightly I had put some Battleborn, that breakthrough grease, just around the lugs right here, just preemptive measure. I did that. It seemed to work out really well. Just now over 1,000 rounds. It's definitely starting to wear off now. You can still see water beating up where the grease was a little bit. I don't know if it's hard to see, but I would definitely put a little bit of grease around this collar when using the devices. Next thing that I thought was really cool, I want to talk to you guys again about set screws. So on the last video I made about compensators, I'll just take the ding and say maybe I wasn't articulate enough with what I was trying to convey. I had made a mention about set screws and them stripping out. I did not mean the threads on the actual screw themselves would strip out, or the threads on the inside of the collar or the device itself would strip out. What I was actually referring to is the actual head inside the screw itself. So I want to show you guys an example of what I'm talking about. See, here is an old muzzle device that I no longer use. And both these set screws are completely bottomed out right now. So I cannot turn them anymore. They are bottomed out. Now watch what happens when I move the Allen key around. See the amount of play in the Allen key? That's because the inside of the head is inevitably going to round out at some point in time. Yes, you're not supposed to take them on and off and on and off and so on and so forth, but nonetheless, if you 3, 4, 5 times on and off, these are going to start to round out, which is why you're seeing that Allen key wiggle around inside that head like that. On this particular device, they stepped up their set screws. Here you see a humongous thick Allen key, and when this thing goes in here, you can definitely feel it having a really good bite, and when you try and move this Allen key around, it's locked in. So even if I did have to remove this collar for whatever reason, I did not want to run a device at all. I'm not going to say I can take it on and off indefinitely, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable knowing that this screw head is not going to strip out and round out. If you ever had one of the smaller screws on a muzzle device round out while it's on your barrel, holy shit, that sucks. We're talking about getting taps and trying to back out the screw, maybe even getting a Dremel. Like, it becomes a nightmare. So knowing that this has a really thick Allen key compared to some of the smaller ones that you'll see out there is definitely a really big deal for me personally. Now, one thing I've been doing quite a bit since I had this, and you guys can probably definitely expect to see an update video on this in the future. So I'm going to call this Toilet Thoughts. Sitting there one day, and I mean literally, and just kind of out of curiosity, seeing that the ports on this, and let me hold all these up at the exact same time. So seeing that the ports on every one of these devices is completely different in size, it's completely logical and reasonable to assume that I can adjust the port based on the ammunition and the recoil spring assembly weight that I'm going to use. So in other words, I typically run a 13-pound recoil spring on just about all my Glock 19s that actually have a device. The factory recoil spring weight on a Glock 19 is 18 pounds. I have seen people go as light as 11 with a cut coil because they don't make 11s for a compact frame, but people will cut off about 6-7 coils and still make sure it passes the armorer's test. So based on the weight of your recoil spring, the exit port on the muzzle device itself, or how big the gas port is, it's definitely reasonable and logical to assume that you can fine-tune your pistol based on the muzzle device to the recoil spring to the ammunition that you're using, whether it's 115, 124, or all the way up through 135, 147, whatever it is that you shoot. So far since I've had this, I've been going back and forth with 115 and 124. I've went from a 13 to a 15 to a factory 18-pound recoil spring and messing with the device with the weight of the ammunition. I think that's definitely more of a long-term thing, but superficially speaking, in about the 1,000 rounds that I put through this right now, there's definitely a noticeable difference with what I do to the muzzle, the spring, and the ammunition, given all the circumstances and what you're kind of trying to do to your gun. So I guess in a nutshell, what we're really trying to get at is that swapping this thing out with the spring or ammunition, so on and so forth, you can definitely make a really good argument that we can tune our gun that much more to our liking, and make it actually a little bit more shootable for us. So we'll finish this up with a short recap. Going through like the check in the box process, like, hey, set screws, good to go. It locks into place, good to go. Does it perform? Yes. Aesthetically, does it look good? Everything's just been check. Steel collar, we got an aluminum actual device at the end, and now you'll see why I'm bringing this up, this last little piece at the end, because I thought this was pretty cool. And when I was going back and forth with Southwest is kind of giving my feedback, the last email I got, I was kind of sitting there and I was like, huh, that's pretty cool. I had sent my feedback. I had asked questions about the O-ring, the temperature rating of the O-ring, just stuff that most people would probably want to know, security, this, that, and that. And I honestly didn't have really anything negative at all to say. I beat the shit out of this thing. I've dropped it from God knows just about every which way I can possibly think of from shoulder height, and the device stayed perfectly intact. The response I got back from Southwest was, thank you for your input. We see that you did not break it. It did not fall apart, but we're going to make it better. That's pretty awesome to see a company that's going to say like, hey, we understand you didn't break it, but we're still going to try and make it a little bit more bomb-proof. So that's freaking awesome. This is a prototype device right now. I would definitely head over. I'm going to put a link down below to Southwest Precision's Instagram. They're really good about putting their stuff up on there with the release dates of when this comes out. This thing's right around the corner right now. And in my honest opinion, I do think this is going to be the last muzzle device you will ever need on a pistol. I thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for watching. You stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
If you give a shit, tune in.